IBP is a strategic and operational framework that brings together all major departments within a business to align on a single unified plan. In a world where market conditions are increasingly unpredictable, where supply chains face constant disruptions, and where consumer demand changes rapidly, organizations need more than isolated departmental planning. They need a model that ensures complete alignment between various functional areas: sales, marketing, finance, operations, and supply chain, all working in concert towards shared business outcomes. This is the promise of IBP to help companies operate with clarity, agility, and alignment by connecting strategic goals with day to day execution. What sets IBP apart from traditional planning models is its dual architecture. It is built to support both bottom up and top down flows of information. In many traditional systems, data flows either from the executive level downward or from the operational teams upward, but rarely both. IBP challenges that norm by facilitating two-way communication. At the operational level, planners, analysts, and frontline staff provide insights from the field. For example, in demand planning, sales representatives interact directly with customers, distributors, and retailers. These representatives understand changing buying behaviors, seasonal trends, competitor promotions, and even local events that may affect demand. Their feedback is critical because it captures real world, transactional information that statistical models alone might miss. Let's consider a practical example. Imagine a regional sales executive at a consumer electronics company notices that a competitor has released a new smartphone at a lower price point. Customers are responding by delaying their purchases of the executive's product. This insight, when captured at the local level and shared upward, can immediately adjust the demand forecast for the next quarter. If this input were ignored or lost in a siloed system, the company might overproduce inventory, resulting in excess stock, markdowns, and lost revenue. On the other side of the spectrum is the top down perspective. Executives and senior leaders outline the strategic vision, perhaps entering new markets, targeting aggressive growth, or launching innovative product lines. Their role in IBP is to ensure that long term plans cascade into executable actions. If leadership decides to enter the South American market next year, the intent must trickle down into marketing campaigns, manufacturing schedules, hiring plans, and supply chain arrangements. IBP ensures that this high level ambition is translated into operational reality through structured planning cycles and regular review checkpoints. The magic of IBP lies in how it harmonizes these two views. Bottom up insights are aggregated, validated, and refined, while top down objectives provide the boundaries and context. This creates a dynamic loop in which plans are continuously adjusted based on both strategic shifts and real time market feedback. To enable this kind of sophisticated planning, IBP relies on a robust technology infrastructure. One of the most common and powerful platforms supporting IBP is SAP HANA, which stands for High Performance Analytic Appliance. Unlike traditional database systems that read from disk, SAP HANA works in memory. This means data can be accessed, analyzed, and acted upon at lightning speed, an essential feature for real time business decision making. SAP HANA is not just a repository of information, it is a computational engine capable of running complex algorithms, generating simulations, and presenting visual dashboards that highlight performance gaps, inventory alerts, or demand supply mismatches. Consider a scenario where a manufacturing plant is unable to fulfill upcoming orders due to a delay in receiving a specific component. With SAP HANA, the system can instantly calculate how this shortfall will affect service levels in each region, recommend alternate sourcing strategies, or reprioritize production runs to minimize customer impact. The time it takes to go from identifying the problem to initiating the response is drastically reduced. At its operational core, IBP is typically organized around several interconnected planning areas. The most foundational of these is demand planning. This process is where everything begins. Without a clear view of expected customer demand, it's impossible to plan production, manage inventory, or allocate resources effectively. Demand planning combines statistical forecasting with human judgment. Statistical models analyze past sales data to project future trends, while inputs from sales and marketing teams inject business intelligence that numbers alone may not capture. For example, if a fast moving consumer goods company sees a consistent increase in the sales of its summer beverages in the previous 3 years, the statistical model might project a 10% growth for the coming season. However, if the marketing team plans to launch a nationwide campaign with celebrity endorsements, they might expect a 25% increase. The consensus forecast, agreed upon through discussion and analysis, becomes the official demand plan. This forecast then becomes the basis for all other planning modules. Once the demand is understood, the focus shifts to inventory optimization. Inventory is often seen as a necessary evil. Too much leads to higher holding costs and potential obsolescence. Too little results in stockouts and lost sales. IBP treats inventory not just as a buffer but as a strategic asset that must be carefully optimized. In the context of multi echelon inventory optimization, companies evaluate inventory across multiple points in the supply chain: raw material suppliers, factories, distribution centers, and retail shelves. The goal is to hold just the right amount of inventory at each point, accounting for lead times, demand variability, and service level targets. Take, for instance, a pharmaceutical distributor with warehouses in 5 cities. A spike in demand for a particular medication in one city can quickly drain its local inventory. Rather than initiating a new production run, which may take weeks, the system might recommend transferring stock from a neighboring warehouse where demand is currently lower. This rebalancing not only ensures higher service levels but also reduces overall inventory carrying costs. With demand and inventory in place, the next step is supply planning. This function takes the demand forecast and determines how best to meet it. Supply planning is constrained by many factors: manufacturing capacity, labor availability, raw material lead times, and supplier reliability. The objective is to convert demand into a feasible production and procurement plan. For example, if a company forecasts a 20% increase in sales for the next quarter, the supply planner must verify whether the factory can handle the uptick. If not, they must consider alternatives. Should they outsource part of the production? Can they run additional shifts or invest in overtime? Should they prioritize high margin products over slow moving items? These decisions are made collaboratively, and the supply plan must strike a balance between customer service and operational efficiency. But what happens when the unexpected occurs? When a shipment is delayed, a raw material runs out, or a sudden spike in demand throws the plan off balance. This is where the response and allocation module of IBP comes into play. It handles exceptions, real time adjustments, and contingency planning. Let's say a consumer electronics firm is short on display panels due to a supplier issue. They have orders pending from both retail partners and corporate clients. The allocation engine helps determine how the limited supply should be distributed. If corporate clients are under long term contracts, they may be prioritized. Alternatively, if a new product launch is happening in key retail stores, stock might be allocated there to preserve brand reputation. These decisions are not made in silos. They feed into a collaborative review process that culminates in the sales and operations planning meetings. This forum is where cross functional teams come together: sales, marketing, finance, operations, and supply chain to review performance, align on the latest plans, and resolve conflicts. They assess how actuals compare to forecasts, understand why gaps exist, and agree on corrective actions. These meetings are held monthly in most organizations and serve as the heartbeat of IBP execution. Above the SNOP process sits the executive review, often referred to as the control tower. This is where the leadership team reviews the consolidated business plan and assesses whether the company is on track to meet its strategic goals. It is here that long term investments are approved, policy decisions are made, and course corrections are initiated. The control tower receives input from every layer of the organization and has the bird's eye view needed to make big decisions. For instance, if demand for a new product line exceeds expectations for several months in a row, the executive team may decide to invest in new production facilities or expand supplier contracts. Throughout this process, data flows seamlessly across functions. Everyone from a demand planner in a regional office to the CFO at headquarters works from the same version of the truth. This transparency eliminates surprises, reduces internal friction, and builds a culture of accountability. In essence, integrated business planning isn't just about aligning plans, it's about aligning people, processes, and priorities. It's about giving everyone in the organization a shared view of the future, the tools to plan for it, and the agility to respond when that future shifts. It transforms planning from a set of isolated activities into a unified strategic capability. In doing so, IBP helps organizations move faster, perform better, and adapt smarter, all while keeping every function pulling in the same direction. In the realm of integrated business planning, the process often begins with demand planning, a vital cornerstone in establishing synchronization across the supply chain. It is not simply a forecasting exercise. Rather, it is the initial point of convergence where data intuition and collaboration come together to shape the organization's forward looking vision. At this stage, the objective is to construct a realistic and actionable forecast that reflects both internal aspirations and external market dynamics. Demand planning serves as the first layer in the broader planning ecosystem, and its impact resonates throughout every subsequent process. A well executed demand plan informs supply planning, inventory optimization, production scheduling, financial projections, and ultimately strategic business decisions. In essence, it sets the tone and direction for all operational efforts within the planning horizon. At the heart of demand planning lies the collection of sales projections, an effort primarily driven by the commercial function of the organization. This includes roles such as sales executives, regional managers, key account holders, and sometimes even customer service personnel. These individuals maintain regular and often close communication with clients and distributors. Through these interactions, they gain insights into customer intentions, promotional plans, product transitions, upcoming launches, and potential shifts in demand. Depending on the maturity of the organization's planning capabilities, the collection of these projections may be facilitated using different tools. In highly digitized environments, organizations may employ enterprise level planning systems such as SAP Integrated Business Planning or Advanced Planning and Optimization. These tools provide structured workflows, intelligent algorithms, and system generated recommendations that enhance decision making accuracy. In contrast, smaller or less mature organizations may still rely on Excel spreadsheets, manually aggregating forecasts provided by field teams and feeding them into a central planning template. To illustrate this process more vividly, imagine a scenario in which a regional sales executive is responsible for forecasting demand from three high value customers. Historically, one of these clients has consistently ordered around 1,000 units per month of a flagship product. However, in the latest forecast submitted by the sales team, the projected demand for the next month has suddenly jumped to 2,000 units. While this may be possible due to a planned promotion or a new contract, it immediately raises a red flag for the demand planner. This is where the real rigor of demand planning kicks in. The demand planner must critically assess the validity of the input. They investigate historical data trends, analyze order patterns, evaluate the seasonal behavior of similar customers, and sometimes even scrutinize macroeconomic factors that could justify such a surge. If there are no credible market events or internal justifications for this change, the forecast is flagged for revision. It's important to recognize that this isn't a process of confrontation. It's a structured, data driven conversation between the demand planner and the sales team. The planner might return to the sales executive with a question such as, "We have seen consistent demand of 1,000 units from this customer over the past 6 months with no major deviations. Can you provide evidence or rationale to support the anticipated doubling of the volume next month?" Such discussions are an essential part of what is commonly known as the forecast validation loop. To support these evaluations, IBP tools play a crucial role. IBP, for instance, provides a feature known as statistical forecasting. This functionality uses time series analysis and embedded algorithms to propose a system generated forecast based on historical sales patterns. These algorithms could range from simple moving averages to more complex techniques that incorporate seasonality, trend analysis, or promotional uplift modeling. Suppose the system generates a statistical forecast of 1100 units for the customer in question based on weighted historical performance and recent growth trends. This provides a benchmark against which the sales forecast of 2000 units can be assessed. If the system's output and the field projection are significantly misaligned, the demand planner now has concrete grounds to open a discussion and reconcile the difference. This process of reconciling system forecasts and sales projections leads to what is known as the consensus forecast. The consensus forecast is a final agreed upon demand plan that balances human judgment with statistical modeling. It reflects the collective understanding of market conditions, customer expectations, and internal supply chain capabilities. Crucially, this consensus is not just an operational number, it is a strategic artifact. It serves as the guiding input for the rest of the IBP cycle, cascading down into supply planning, inventory calculations, financial budgeting, and S&OP deliberations. The formalization of this output occurs in what is typically called as a demand review meeting. This is a structured, periodic forum, usually held monthly, where key stakeholders come together to validate the demand plan. The composition of this meeting varies by organization, but generally includes a demand manager or demand planning lead, representatives from the sales and commercial team, marketing leaders, and financial controllers. Each participant brings a distinct perspective to the discussion. The demand manager facilitates the session and ensures that planning assumptions are transparent and aligned. The sales team provides on-the-ground intelligence, updates on major customer negotiations, and feedback from key accounts. Marketing contributes insights on upcoming campaigns, market activations, and product launches that might influence demand. Finance plays a crucial role in ensuring that the forecast aligns with revenue targets, margin goals, and budgetary constraints. Together, this cross-functional team engages in constructive debate, evaluates variances between historical and projected demand, reviews key performance indicators such as forecast accuracy and bias, and collaboratively finalizes the demand plan. The result is a forecast that is not only realistic and data supported, but also owned and understood by every function involved in its creation. One of the most valuable outcomes of this collaborative approach is organizational alignment. By agreeing on a single version of the forecast, the business eliminates the inefficiencies and miscommunications that often arise from having multiple competing plans. In many legacy planning environments, sales might be working off one forecast, operations of another, and finance of yet another. This misalignment can lead to overproduction, excess inventory, stockouts, and missed financial targets. IBP resolved this by establishing the consensus forecast as the foundation for a unified operating plan. This forecast is published within the planning system, visible to all stakeholders, and used consistently across all downstream processes. It becomes the anchor around which production schedules are built, purchasing decisions are made, inventory targets are set, and financial plans are constructed. It is also worth noting that demand planning doesn't end with the generation of the consensus forecast. It is a continuous process subject to refinement and recalibration as new information becomes available. Weekly monitoring of forecast accuracy, tracking of key customers, mid-cycle corrections based on real-time sales, and integration of external signals such as economic trends or competitor moves, these all form part of an ongoing cycle of improvement. For instance, an organization might notice that the forecast accuracy for a certain region consistently falls below acceptable thresholds. Upon investigation, it might be discovered that local market trends such as changing consumer preferences or unexpected competitor promotions are not being adequately captured in the original forecast. In response, the demand planning team may decide to adapt a different forecasting model for that region or incorporate additional data sources such as a point of sale analytics or syndicated market research. In more advanced scenarios, organizations may integrate artificial intelligence and machine learning into the demand planning process. These technologies can detect subtle patterns, self-adjust to changing conditions, and recommend forecast adjustments based on real-time events. When paired with human oversight, these tools can significantly enhance both forecast accuracy and planner productivity. As the consensus forecast is finalized and signed off, it is locked in the system and handed off to the supply planning team, initiating the next phase of the IBP process. But it's important to recognize the foundation role that demand planning plays in setting the tone and trajectory for everything that follows. A well aligned, data driven, and collaboratively built forecast is not merely a number, it is a strategic signal that guides the organization's path forward. In conclusion, demand planning within IBP is not just a module, it is a discipline that combines analytics, stakeholder engagement, and continuous refinement. When executed effectively, it strengthens organizational alignment, enhances service levels, reduces waste, and enables the business to respond to change with confidence. Whether supported by cutting edge software or simple spreadsheets, the principles remain the same. Base decisions on data, challenge assumptions constructively, collaboratively across functions, and continuously strive for greater accuracy. That is the essence of robust demand planning in the modern enterprise.